So today we're going to do the handover video on the Rapido V56 panel van. We're going to start on the outside and then we're going to move on to the inside. So firstly, coming over to the passenger side, you'll notice that you've got your fill up points. In here is your diesel point, and just opening up the passenger door, you can see that you've got your bonnet release catch on this side. Before going underneath the bonnet, you will notice on this model you have got Rcd cab blinds. Just simply pinch the little cap there, little plastics in, and then you can pull out the blind like so and allow that to clip up and connect via the magnetic strip. You've got these all around the cab, you've got them on either side along with the same again on the big front window at the front. To take these back in, I typically find it's a lot easier if you lead from the bottom and I let it link back up and clip in like so. And as a rule of thumb with anything in a motorhome is if it feels like it's being forced, you are probably doing something wrong. Now coming back underneath the bonnet, as I mentioned, there's not many things that you need to know underneath here. The main things that you need to know is if you're ever trying to jump start the vehicle. If that is the case, I'll lift this up for you now and show you how to do that. With the bonnet open, the main point to jump start the vehicle from is here. This is your negative outlet. So your negative just connects onto this nipple here, and the positive is just located underneath this little cap. You can see there's a little plus sign on the top here. You just need to flick this cap up and your positive can just slot onto there. They're the main things that you need to know underneath the bonnet, as I say. But a couple more things just to point out is your engine oil here with your dipstick, which is just below there. You've then got your brake disc fluid, your engine coolant, your power steering fluid, and then finally your washer fluid, which is just at the side there. Moving around the vehicle, you can see that you've got your big open door along with your awning, and at the moment I've just popped the step out. We'll go on to the inside of the vehicle in just a second, but as I walk around the vehicle you can see that you've got your two rear doors here. With these open, you can see that you've got an external shower point here. Just using a bayonet fitting, you can connect your external shower here and then use this to hose your boots off. You have got the functionality of having this on hot or cold. To run this, you'll of course need your pump on, but I'll show you that when we're in the inside of the vehicle. And then next up, you've got your gas. In your gas cupboard, you've got your two cylinders connected up to a gas regulator. The main thing to know about the gas is to always ensure that the gas is turned off at the bottle when travelling, to ensure that it's all safe. Your awning pole, you'll notice, is just connected onto the side here and attached. And to wind your awning out, all you need to do is connect it onto this point here and then simply wind it out to a point you can reach the awning. Once you can reach the awning, your two legs which are in the awning will simply slide out and flip down. Let them take their way to the awning, and then you can begin to angle the legs and walk the awning out. Now, if it is a windy day, please ensure that the awning is taken in, because you don't want to, as you can imagine, it is a massive sail, so you don't want to injure anyone. Coming over to the side of the vehicle, you can see that you've got your fresh water point. This is where you fill up the fresh water. So when you're on a campsite, fill up is there. You'll notice that you've got a little vent here, and then another one which is similar to like your chimney or your fuel flue. This one is for your fridge, and then this one is for your heating system in the vehicle. You've then got your 230 volt hookup points as well, which will allow you to have mains in the vehicle. Underneath, directly above the vent, you will notice that you've got your first drain down point. This is for your wastewater, and as you can see, you've got this grey handle which if you pull towards you will empty the wastewater tank. Now when on site, you'll have a massive grid that you need to drive over. When you've driven over that, you can then pull that to release all the vehicle's water. You've got, as I say, this is your wastewater tank. You've got two other tanks. One's your boiler system, and then one's your freshwater tank. They're the only other two drain downs that you need to worry about. But as I say, for your wastewater, it's external to the van. You just need to pull that and it'll drain down the entire thing into the grid on site. Now, whilst we're on the topic of drain down points, what I say as a rule of thumb is if you are moving off site and you're no longer using the vehicle, open up the water so the majority of it drains into that big drain on the site, and then leave all your drain down points open, so as you're travelling home, the vibrations of the road are going to get all of that water out. We're now going to move on to the inside of the vehicle. On the inside of the vehicle, you'll notice with the big door open, you've got your control panel, which is up at the top here. Firstly, to isolate the vehicle or to turn it on and off, you can see you've got your power button up here, and you'll notice that you've then got your lights, your awning light, you've then got your pump button, and you've got your aux. Now, the options with this, if you want your lighting to be on the inside, just click this top button here, and then for the door light on the outside, as I say, this is just here. Now, your pump, what you need to do when on site and you've got water in the vehicle, you go to all of your sink points and all your water points, so your shower and also your taps. You turn them on and turn them to hot. What that's going to do is it's going to pull water from the fresh water tank into the boiler and then out to your tap. What that'll do is it'll prime the system and pull through whilst priming the boiler, and then when it's running steadily, you've primed your system for your hot water. Once you've done that, flick it over to cold and do the exact same. Once the water's flowing steadily on both hot and cold, you can then turn the tap off and you can leave your pump on. Your pump has got an isolator switch on each of your taps, so it will only activate the pump when you require it. So you can leave your pump on providing you have got obviously water in the vehicle. Now, having said that, please don't run the pump if you've not got any water in the van, because that will just result in your pump burning out. However, as I say, you've got water in the vehicle and it's all primed, you can leave your pump on. Your next button, as I say, is aux, and what that does is it allows all your 12 volt currents to work and to operate. So, for example, if you're using 12 volt power like USBs and things like that, and that will allow you to turn it on and off. Now up here we'll show you a few of your levels as well. You'll notice you've got a little information button here. Click that, you can see that it shows you the vehicle's battery level, then shows you the vehicle's habitation area battery level, so leisure battery level, and then finally it shows you your freshwater system tank level. Now at the moment obviously it's 0, hence why it's flashing. You can then flick through the options just by tapping this button, as you can see. It's dead easy and dead simple. Now, coming away from the control panel up at the top, you'll notice that you've got a raised section here. In this section you have got a bit of storage in this front section, but in the cutout nearest to the table, you'll notice that you've got all of your fuse boxes and trip switches. Your fuses are located in here, and your trip box is just on the side here. This is often called the Rcd Breaker, and if the vehicle ever trips, you need to come to this point here. If the vehicle does trip, come to this point and flick the switches up, and if you ever do need to, of course, change a fuse, they are all labelled and listed down here for you. Now, coming away from your fuses and your trip box, you'll notice I've just taken off the cushion here, and underneath here you have got access to your boiler system. Now, I can appreciate this looks very confusing and complex, but the only thing that you need to know is what that little blue button does there. This is, as I say, your boiler. You don't need to touch anything with regards to this. The only thing that you need to touch is this blue button there. You will notice before I move on to that blue button, you have got space for another leisure battery here, and you've got your first one all connected up for you. But coming back to this blue button, in essence, as I mentioned outside, you've 3 main drain down points in the vehicle. The first one being outside, which is your wastewater. You've then got your freshwater system drain down, and then finally your boiler drain down point, which is arguably the most important drain down. You need to ensure that this is always open when not using the vehicle, because if this ever freezes, the boiler will be required to be replaced, which is very expensive. So to drain the boiler, all you need to do is flip the switch as it is now. It'll indicate that it's open with a black little nib that's, as you can see, lifted up on the top, and a blue button on the side, which is again quite difficult to see on the video, which has just popped out. To close this, all you need to do is press the button in and turn the diamond shape like so. So the black nib goes in and the blue button on the side pops in. What that will allow you to do is fill the boiler, so when you are priming your system for your hot water, it'll allow you all the water to travel through and out of the tap. As I say, a lot of people forget about this when they've not used the vehicle in a while, because this will be open. So you need to always make sure that that's closed before using the vehicle, and always opened when not using the vehicle. Now this particular drain down is really good because it reacts to temperature. How that works is if it gets to a certain temperature and it's in fear of obviously freezing, it will simply turn like so automatically. The blue button on the side will press out and the black nib on the inside of the diamond will push up. Now what may happen is if you've not used the vehicle in a while and you come to fill it up and as I say, close your boiler, so you turn the diamond like so, and then you go to press the blue button. Sometimes what will happen is the blue button won't stay in. The reason for that is this reacts to temperature, and if it is too cold, the button will not stay in, so it will not close the drain down. If that's the case, what you need to do is put your heating on, which I'll show you how to do later. Turn your heating on and you'll allow this area to just get relatively warm. You need to leave that for about half an hour or so, and that will allow, as I say, the air to get warm in here and will allow you to press that button in. From there you can then begin filling it up and using it. It's a fail-safe to ensure that there's no frozen water in the boiler. Now coming directly above your seating area, you'll notice that you have got two storage cupboards here. You've one which by the looks of things have got a safe in, and on the other side you've got your max view aerial. To operate this aerial, all you need to do is click your button, and as you can see by the blue little light, this indicates that it's on. This will then allow you to pull a feed through to watch your telly and things like that. You can change the range using this dial and turning it, depending on how well the signal is picking up things. Moving backwards into the kitchen area, you can see that you've got your fridge, which is here. Your fridge does a very good job at maintaining the temperature, but doesn't do the best of jobs at getting it down to temperature. For example, if you want cooled things to be in the fridge, put cooled things in the fridge, and if you want frozen things to be in the freezer, put frozen things in the freezer, and it'll just do a very good job at maintaining the temperature. Now up at the top you can see that this is a Dometic fridge, and it's a three-way system. The reason it's called a three-way fridge is because there's three ways to power it. Firstly, you've got your 230 volt, which is here. You can then power it using your gas, and then you can power it using your leisure battery. Now, the reason why you're going to use different powers and when you're going to use them. Firstly, this is your on button, as you can see, which I'll just turn it off for now because we're not using anything, which is just done by holding the fridge like so. You've then got a few options. Firstly, if you're on site, you're going to be using this 230 volt electric point. You're then going to be using the gas for when you're wild camping, and then you're going to be using the 12 volt leisure battery for when you're travelling. A lot of people think that they can run the leisure battery or the fridge off the leisure battery when you're wild camping. However, that is not the case. If that was the case, you'd simply lose all the power to the vehicle. It wouldn't be enough because it draws so much power. So with that in mind, when you're wild camping, it only the gas, and when you're travelling, only the 12 volt. And as I say, when you're on site, more often than not, you're going to be using your 230 volt. You will notice you have got this A button, and this stands for auto. This will automatically assign whichever fuel you have. So for example, if you've got gas in the vehicle, it will automatically assign it to gas. Now what may happen is you may select a fuel that you haven't got. From that you will then get an error code. From there you do need to do the reset, which, as you can see on this sticker, just includes holding that down. You can see that you've got a temperature option here, so you can flick through the different temperatures that you require as well. Moving into the back, you can see that you've got your French bed here, which does pull up like so you can utilise the space if you wanted. You've got storage above here, and also, not to mention, that you've got storage in the kitchen area as well. Now coming back round, you'll notice that you've got your Truma control panel here. This is your Truma heating system, and this is what operates the heating for the water and also the vehicle's space heater. Click the button. To click the button, as you can see, underneath the line is everything that you want to select. Your first option is your vehicle's temperature, and that's the Motorhomes temperature. So using the dial, if you click that in, you can see that you can take the temperature all the way up to 30 degrees just by turning the dial. The next one along is your water temperature. You can run this either off 40 or 60 degrees or boost. Now 40 degrees, obviously you're going to be using that when you're washing your hair and stuff like that in the shower and using the shower. And 60 degrees you're going to be using that for when you're washing your pots and pans. Your boost will in essence boost and concentrate on heating the water. So instead of heating the vehicle itself, it will stop heating the vehicle and focus on heating the water. Do bear in mind that you do need the vehicle to be running the heater for approximately 30 minutes before selecting that. But as I say, that's how you run it. Next is your fuel button. So similar to what I said about the gas, about the fridge, you've got three ways, or a few ways to power this rather. Your first option, you can run off gas, as you can see. You can then run it off mix 1, which is a mixture of gas and 1 kilowatt electric. Mix 2, which is a mixture of gas or 2 kilowatt electric. You can then run it off EL1, which is 1 kilowatt electric, or EL2, which is 2 kilowatt electric. Now if you're on site, you're going to be running it off EL2, which will allow it to heat up relatively quick. If you're on a low powered site, you may be forced to run it off EL1. If that is the case, I'd be tempted to put it on a mixture. And then when you're wild camping, you run it solely off gas. Now coming back, you've then got the option of the fan speed. As you can see here. Click that. Oh, that's not it, sorry. There you are, the fan speed. Now, as I say, nothing is on at the moment, so it's only giving me the option of vent, which will vent and circulate the air currently in the vehicle. But when you have got something selected, it will give you the option of high or boost. High is an intensified version of the fan, which will kick it around the vehicle. And boost is the exact same as what I've explained with the water, but it just works vice versa with the likes of the heating for the vehicle. So instead of heating the water, it'll heat the vehicle's temperature instead. Now coming back down, let that focus, you can see that at the bottom you can set a timer, so for when you're away from the vehicle you can get it to start heating the van up. You've then got an option to change the time as well, and then finally you've got your settings. In your settings, the main thing that you need to know is the offset or a reset. And the reason that you need to reset the control panel from time to time is if you ever, for example, select a fuel that you haven't got. So like I mentioned with the fridge, if you select a fuel that you haven't got, so for example, if you select gas but you've got no gas to the vehicle, you'll get an error warning code up here, which will ultimately stop you being able to use the control panel. If that's the case, you need to go into your settings as I showed you then, click offset or reset, and that'll allow you to reset the entire system. You need to wait approximately 20 minutes after that's been done, the screen will flicker, and then after waiting 20 minutes you're good to go to use the vehicle, and obviously use the control panel. So moving away from the heating system, you can see that I've just taken off one of your mattresses, because underneath here lies your fresh water tank. You've got access holes here on the blue cap just to give it a wash out and clean it from time to time. But the main thing that you need to know with this is your drain down point. This is your last drain down point in the vehicle. As I say, you've had your wastewater, which is on the outside of the van. You've had your boiler, which is again on the inside, just underneath the front seating area. And then finally, you have your fresh, which is at the rear of the van, underneath the bed. Now, as you can see, using this diagram here, you've got a little spin handle, which is just underneath there. It's quite difficult to see on the video. It's just that black valve there, as you can see, and all you need to do is turn that and that will release the entire vehicle, the vehicle's fresh water rather. Now, as you can see on this vehicle, diagram, the vehicle will hold 120 litres. If you turn the valve 3/4 of the way, you'll feel a little click as well. It's like a little lug. It will drop all of its water bar 50 litres. So, for example, you can carry water if you are travelling, which is always nice, because if you're moving on to another site and you don't know whether you're going to get any water or you're wild camping, you can hold a bit of water, which is safe to do so. Now, if you want to drain the entire thing out, you just carry on past that 3/4 and keep turning, as you can see, twice by the looks of this, and it will allow you to drain down the entire thing. As I mentioned, keep these open, all your drain down points, for when you're travelling, so all the water is removed out the van. And if you can help it, don't travel with water due to your payload distribution. Now, finally coming to the rear, you can see that you've got your toilet area, which is just here. Now, as I mentioned, we've talked about priming your shower and your taps with your pump. Now, the last thing to talk about is your cassette toilet. Now, the cassette toilet is dead easy and dead simple. The main thing that you always need to make sure is that the blade, which is this piece of plastic here, on the toilet is always closed. The only time it should be open is when the cassette is in use. When in use, slide the blade like so. That will open the cassette so all the waste can drop into the cassette toilet. Once you've done that, click the blue button, which is up at the top, which will activate the flush, and that will empty or get rid of all the contents which may be still in the bowl, and drop that into the cassette. Once you've done that, close the cassette. You do this for two reasons. You close the cassette for the main reason being is it stops odours from escaping, but two, it'll also get you in the habit of that being closed, because when you come to remove the cassette to empty it, which I'm going to show you how to do shortly, it will stop it from being jammed, so it'll allow you to slide it out straight away and will result in it not breaking. Now, before we move outside, just to show you the cassette, you can see that your flush is just on this blue button here. Please do bear in mind that your flush does need to have the pump activated for it to work, and you will get a red little light on here just to indicate when it is full. So finally, here is the cassette, which is at the back. So just open up this and you can see that it gives you access to the cassette toilet. To empty this, all you need to do is pull up on this yellow orange lever, and then your cassette is free, like so. Now, as I mentioned, please ensure that the blade on the toilet is closed before you're doing this. If it feels like it's being forced, make sure that that is closed. You can then pull out the cassette. To empty this, all you need to do is click the orange button on the back of the cassette to release a vacuum, unfold the nozzle like so, and remove the cap. That will then allow you to drain the entire thing out without any splashback. Once you've done that, you can put a bit of water in there just to swill things out, and then simply fold the nozzle in like so, pick up the cassette and slide it into position like so. Now, you will notice that there is an orange cap which turns on the top there. That will allow you to open and close the cassette when is necessary. That should always stay in that position, and that is what makes contact with the blade when you are using the cassette. That concludes the handover video on the Rapido V56. I hope you enjoyed.